You know, God created men to conquer, to overrule, and woman cannot empower men.
What are we on, Game of Thrones?
You see what I deal with every day.
These senior citizens were involved in a steamy summer romance. 57-year-old Mr. Henderson and 56-year-old Ms. Brown were together for a summer some years back. Now Ms. Brown is in paternity court with her 32-year-old son, Roddell. They are here to prove that this hot romance resulted in Roddell being conceived. Mr. Henderson denies it fervently, saying the most ridiculous things in the process. He calls Ms. Brown just another lady on his team. Here is their case.
Can you explain, how did your son and you end up here 32 years after his birth?
Yes, Your Honor. I was living in Jersey City when I met Mr. Henderson at a bar. Mr. Henderson was a DJ. Mr. Henderson came to the bar and told me that I had some sexy eyes, some beautiful eyes. By him being a charming, very good looking, Your Honor.
Mr. Henderson has never met Roddell, is not interested in doing so, and he never will be. At this point, Ms. Brown basically dragged him out to paternity court. He denies every single thing she says so strongly, this woman would begin to doubt any of these things happened if she were not there to experience it herself. What a man, really.
Calling each other, going to each other's house, Your Honor.
While you were pregnant?
Yes.
Not true.
Yes, it's true.
Right.
It's true. Mr. Henderson was the only man that I was seeing in the state of New Jersey at the time. I had no chance of being with no other man but Mr. Henderson.
Your Honor, that's not true.
That's true.
Me and Miss Brown,
is true.
We were
It
never
is true.
dating. We were never dating.
He went on to explain that she was simply one of the many that were on his team. A very interesting way to put it, too. They never dated, and he was never interested in dating her. He added that he did not want any committed relationship at that point in his life, and he definitely did not need any children, seeing that he had a lot of them already.
I didn't want any more children than I had children, and during the time when she said she got pregnant, I wasn't even dating her, and I always used protection when I was with her, because I was sleeping with multiple partners, so why would I do that?
All right, so you say you got a team.
Well, I had a team, yes.
So
she was just one member of the team, and she got a cut slip. She knew about it. She knew I had a lot of females.
What you're saying is...
Oh, so she did know what she was getting herself into. Isn't that just something? Couple of the year, these two. If you think you've heard the most ridiculous part of this case, you haven't seen anything yet. Here is how Mr. Dream Man Henderson found out that Ms. Brown was pregnant.
Or did you even know?
Well, I actually found out because one day I was outside the club, I was walking down the street, and I seen her sister. She said to me, "You know, Linda's pregnant." I said, "If so, it ain't my baby," because I had cut her off the team a long time ago.
You know why he said
So I don't know how she gonna say it's my baby. But then she told me
that he wanted them to take care of his.
Judge Lake really does get her fair share of ridiculousness. These two lost contact for 32 years, came back to paternity court, and are getting down to scream at one another like they're back in time 32 years ago. After they both came to a conclusion that he indeed saw Roddell as a baby and cut his hair too, Mr. Henderson began to insist once again that he was using protection, and Roddell is not his biological son.
Your Honor, one thing I have to say is, like, my grandmother raised me. I mean, like, I made different, you know what I'm saying, choices in my life that led to me joining gangs because I ain't have no father in my life. And it hurt. You know what I'm saying? My mom, she was there, but she wasn't in the house like she was supposed to. So if I would have had a father in my life teaching me, like, to do things, I wouldn't have made them choices in my life. Like, I could have been in the NBA.
Finally, the spotlight moves from the couple of the year to Roddell. He adds that his potential father has the same interests as he does, and they love the same things. Mr. Henderson used to DJ and dance as a teenager. Roddell is currently very music inclined and goes to various states to do his music and dance gigs. Well, well, is this a sign? Only the paternity results can truly tell.
So in this picture, you're about the same age that Mr. Brown is now?
right.
All right.
Do y'all see this, Emma? Come on now, good looking son like this.
He's a good-looking young man. I just never saw him before.
Yeah, but you saw him at the age of 2.
Well, if you'd have stayed where you were supposed to
No,
stay, we would know.
I wasn't
and he
supposed
would have
to
been in
stay
my
in Jersey
life.
City.
See, I blame her, Your Honor, also
Honor, I could
for
not
taking
live
the
in
child
Jersey.
down
All right.
south.
Now, Mr. Henderson seems more receptive to the thought of Raydell being his child. He says he reached out to him on the phone and they had conversations about everything. He went on to accuse Mrs. Henderson of lying to Raydell, claiming that she said he didn't want anything to do with him. This man literally said all of that by himself at paternity court, though. He literally did. What a guy. Results are out, and here is the verdict.
Mr. Henderson, you are not his father.
Oh no!
I told you.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh Lord! Oh no! I'm not going to feel. I don't feel no remorse. I'm sorry that I thought you were the father because y'all look so much alike.
I understand.
Miss Brown,
Yes, Your Honor.
do you know
What I went through.
Mr. Lacey abandoned his son for years up until he turned 25, while Ms. Touré is determined to prove that Mr. Lacey is Trevon's biological father. Accusing him of avoiding his responsibilities and leaving her son without a father figure, Mr. Lacey strongly denies paternity. He adamantly refuses to accept a child he believes is not his own. Tension is high in Judge Lake's court.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
No, Your Honor.
Yes, he did, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I could not
Your
have
Honor, I
signed
got proof today that he did sign the birth certificate and his name is on my son's
I'd like
birth
to see that proof. Jerome?
Your Honor, I could not have signed the birth certificate. I was not, I was incarcerated at the time Trayvon was
Thank
born.
you. So this birth certificate, child's name, Trayvon Lacey's father's name, Larry Lacey.
How ridiculous is that? So, basically, she put his name on the birth certificate without asking him first. If he wasn't there to sign it when Trevon was born, why would his name be on it? And here's where it gets juicy. He only found out about this 3 months after Trevon was born. This whole paternity mess, it went down around the same time in Trevon's life.
Well, I received a court paper to go to the state of Ohio child support court, and me and Miss Touré, we did both appear at the child support court. When I walked into the court, the judge, he looked at me, he said, "That's your son, you know, you have nothing to say."
Now, it seems like he is being forced to take care of the boy. Ms. Touré denies all of it, but there's no proof to back her up. Then Judge Lake brings up child support payments from the court, and things start to get interesting.
We went forth with the child support case.
You don't remember any of that happening?
No, ma'am.
Yes, he did.
That's not the way I remembered it happening, Your Honor.
But he's on the birth certificate.
He is.
So he is the legal father.
Yes.
As far
And
as
his
she's
court
saying.
papers say he's paying child support.
Yes,
You paying
and
child support?
I have proof that, Your Honor.
Damn, what a man. Despite all the accusations flying her way from Mr. Lacey, Ms. Touré still has something significant to address.
Well, Your Honor, I want to put this to bed. I'm tired of reliving this. You know, okay, I made a mistake. It wasn't even a mistake. I was just living on my own. He just keep throwing this man in my face over and making my son feel bad. I'm ready to put it to bed. That's what I want to do and get on with our life.
Right.
Your Honor, my intentions is not to make Trayvon feel bad.
The man insists that his goal isn't to hurt Ms. Touré or Trevon, but just for one thing, which is to uncover the truth. Now, we get to look into their relationship history and how exactly these two crossed paths. Things are about to get even more wild.
I was on the city bus and she was on the city bus, and she had her oldest son to walk up to me and give me a piece of paper with a phone number on it, okay? So when I looked at the phone number, I wondered who is this? So I turn around and I'm watching where the, child goes.
Oh, Ms. Touré sure is an intentional woman. So, they met as two people that knew what they wanted and they decided to stick to that. Ms. Touré wasn't finished. She kept going.
Your Honor, yes, I do remember
Okay.
meeting Mr. Lacey, and partially that is true. The thing is, I found him very attractive and very charming. Yes, I did, and I did approach him because I like what I saw. So the chemistry, once we started talking, the chemistry was good.
Ah, yes. They moved in together and things went south from there. He left her, they broke up, she met other people. If you think this is a ridiculous lot to take in, you haven't seen anything yet. Look, it honestly sounds better to hear it all from Ms. Touré.
At this time, my first time I had sex with Mr. Lacey, he got me pregnant, but I didn't know it at the time. So Mr. Lacey told me he left and went out of town. He just disappeared, Your Honor. He disappeared. I don't know where he went, but later on down the road, as time revealed, he was living a double life. It was another woman in the neighborhood that he had left me for. So at that time, I thought, it was over.
That right there is a wild turn of events. Like she was not explaining efficiently enough before, she went deeper into the whole thing.
So wait a minute, you all in this relationship, everything's going fine, then you come back home and Mr. Lacey is gone?
No, Mr. Lacey had sex with me and took off.
Oh, so after he had
He had sex
left.
with me and took off. I didn't see him for a long time after that.
Yeah.
That's
Wait,
how
I
me and
thought
this
you
other
said
guy
he
got
moved in.
together.
I thought you said he
Your Honor.
moved in.
Yes, he did. That was after the fact. He came back and caught the guy at my house.
Again, what a guy. This then leads to the next thing on the agenda. How then did Mr. Lacey harbor so much doubt towards Trevon if all evidence points to him? With everything going on, it seems like he's the only man in the life of Khadijah Touré. Here's the next thing on the agenda.
When I came back into town, I knock on the door, and the door opened. Well, I see my pajamas. My pajamas. Miss
That is
Touré
not true.
has on the pajama top.
That is not true to me.
The gentleman has on the pajama bottom.
Your pajamas.
My pajamas. I didn't argue, I didn't fuss, I didn't create no drama, I didn't fight, I didn't do anything. I turned around, I tell my cousin, I said, come on, let's go.
Who would have thought? This is one funny story. About 2-3 weeks after Mr. Lacey left, Ms. Toure moved on, and she moved on properly. To be fair, it did seem like Mr. Lacey had already moved on as well till he showed up.
But he did have
you
his
had
own
on the blue
clothes
pajama
on.
top.
And I had my clothes on.
No, you did
Okay,
not.
so pajamas or no pajamas? Were you intimate with this guy? You said it's your new friend.
I was intimate, yes. But I just moved in town. I got my new apartment. I was feeling all grown in my apartment, doing grown stuff in my grown
You sure
apartment.
were. You
Yes,
sure
I
were.
That explains it. All of Mr. Lacey's doubts from the very beginning. As it would turn out, he knew something we didn't know about this very grown woman in her grown apartment. Additionally, Miss Toure did not find out about the pregnancy soon after the pajamas encounter.
You've managed to pay that $37,000 down to almost $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you getting it done.
And the only thing that Miss Torre have told me is this, because I asked her about the other gentleman. And she told me that she went to the other gentleman and she spoke to that gentleman, and the gentleman told her, no, Trayvon is not his child because he do not look like any of his other children. And Miss Torre accepted that.
It just keeps getting better and better. Usually DNA tests are done, but as it turns out, a simple look at the baby in question will do.
Now, at that time, he told me that I was like 12 to 14 weeks already into my pregnancy.
Really?
And he was the only man I had sex in that time frame. Because I didn't know nobody else.
Pregnant, and we had only been together for no more than a month. Trayvon be my child.
Mr. Lacey is not backing down, as he's asking the important questions. Khadijah Toure, on the other hand, does not have so much to say on the topic anymore.
Because DNA gonna tell you it's your child. We were just having sex.
Well, I get that. Unprotected, I guess.
Of
Yes,
course.
ma'am.
So,
Rubber in hand and peels another one. It just happened that way.
so how soon after that?
Judge Lake took it right out of all our mouths. What a case. Just right after the judge says everything we're thinking about Miss Toure.
Did you transition to pajama guy?
Yeah, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks.
About 2 or 3
I already
weeks.
had eyes on him, but I ran into Larry and I started talking to him.
Miss Toure, you was on team too much back then.
What?
You was on team too much back then.
I
You had
wasn't
eyes
too
on
much.
one.
We live in.
Finally, the spotlight leaves Ms. Toure and Mr. Lacey and gets on to place Trayvon Lacey as the center of our attention. He starts by letting us know that he has a few words for his mother, in particular.
Trayvon, I haven't heard from you yet. You've been very quiet listening to this testimony, and I know some of it's probably difficult, son. Do you have something you'd like to say to the court?
Yes, I want to start off by saying my mom, she was, an excellent mother. She raised 3 boys by herself, all at different ages.
In a wild turn, we get a crazy plot twist. Now, we don't know who to trust and whose words to take as truth. Turns out that Trayvon has 3 children of his own. He adds that he would love for his children to know who their grandfather is, saying that the same way he would want his father in his life, he would want him in his children's life as well. Finally, the results are out.
Mr. Lacey, you are the father.
Thank you, Your Honor. I told you. I told you. Now stand up. Give my son his respect. Give him his father. Hug your daddy.
Khadijah Toure had all that to say. Trayvon Lacey was totally emotional, happy, and saying that the DNA results were finally out. With Mr. Lacey, on the other hand, here's what he had to say.
How does it feel, Trayvon?
It's exhilarating. I want to thank you for bringing out these results, and hopefully that we can move forward with our lives.
I have nothing to say.
And I don't like it. And you know why he got robbed? Because of that chapter you left out.
You're right.
We're in paternity court, but some days it's maternity court too. Because it is both parents.
Imagine your boyfriend tells you when you're pregnant without using a test kit. And not just that, but he knows because he keeps a calendar of your monthly cycle. He then brings that to court as evidence for a case. This is the case between Ms. Coward and Mr. James at the paternity court today.
Yes. You were?
Yes.
How did you know?
Well, I have evidence that I keep on a calendar basically about her cycle. And from which I've done, so I know basically when I can and when I cannot, be intimate with her.
Oh, and you have that on a calendar?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, do you have that evidence with you?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What a guy. These two met in their apartment building, and after a bit of a drag, things started getting steamy pretty fast. Ms. Cowart got pregnant soon enough, and then Mr. James accused her of cheating on him. Back to Mr. James, the calendar keeper. He kept tabs on Ms. Cowart, but it got worse.
So for 16 years, you've been keeping track of
different women that I've slept with. Can't be too certain these days with somebody come in and tell you 16 years later you got a child, I got a calendar to say that I didn't have it.
Wow.
Sexual
so you
transmitted
have in your calendar the dates you were intimate with women?
Yes, ma'am, I
And
do.
also a record of their...
Again, what a guy. He really knows how to get down and about. He went on to show the court various calendars spanning Ms. Cowart's monthly cycle, her menstruation dates, as well as the days he was intimate with her. This was how he linked the calendars to figure out that she was cheating on him. He felt like something was just not right, and he followed his gut.
Well,
You
not
noticed
only,
there were some issues?
yes, there's a lot of issues considering the first time that we went to the actual doctor, they gave her one due date. They gave her another one on another day. So there was 2 different due dates. Neither one of them coincide with the days when I actually was intimate with her, nor with that.
Ms. Cowart went on to accuse him of omitting some dates from his calendar to favor his accusations. He denied all her accusations. Mr. James claims to be a thorough man, saying that for a man that keeps a calendar, he would definitely remember if there was anything to be left out.
Flippin', you gotta add that in.
What's not more important than,
I'm just
sexual...
teasing you. I'm just... So what happens during the pregnancy? Are you participating?
Well, once we found out she was pregnant, I already pretty much told her that I was gonna take a DNA before I put my name on the birth certificate, because of the simple fact is, I need a DNA.
Oh, okay, Mr. James. A grocery store visit is not very important, is it? However, keeping a calendar with the monthly cycles of all the women you are ever intimate with is completely okay. It's interesting to ask about how he got access to all of this information. Did he simply ask them, or he went around critically observing these women? What a guy.
You have to doubt.
Well, from the beginning, the way that the relationship started, she was in a relationship when the relationship started.
Okay.
And after a week of us being intimate, sneaking around, I started catching real strong feelings for her. I know that's kind of soon, but I also told her that I've been looking at her for a year. And I gave her the option. You either get rid of him or stay away from my house.
The way things are going, it would seem like Ms. Cowart is not an angel either. She claims that he met her as a woman in a relationship, so that means that she was not completely his, regardless of the fact that they were having unprotected intimacy. That has to be one of the most ridiculous things ever to be said.
I've caught her in lies. I done went through her phone.
He's just a very
seen
jealous
pictures
person.
So
of her.
you feel like since you were sleeping with her when she was in another relationship, it's very possible that she was sleeping with somebody else while she was in the relationship with you.
And still is, to this day.
To this day?
98% of his customers are females and women.
I mean, what man is not going to admit that he
has
doesn't know how to
told
check
me
his own air and his
several
tires?
Looks like both parties are getting jealous. After Miss Cowart gave birth to her baby, Taj, Mr. James looked at him once, painted him as the spitting image of his mother, and he stated that his doubts about the baby's paternity began to increase. All this because the baby looked like his mom and not him. It appears that Mr. James needs someone to tell him that babies are made by 2 people, and it's not just the fathers. The verdict is out, and here are the results.
Mr. James, you are the father.
Thank you. I told you. Come on, you want a hug?
Thank you.
I told you, babe. I love you. I love you.
Now see the tears in your eyes, Mr. James. It feels good to know, right?
Yes, it does, Your Honor.
Mr. Silva believes men like him are free to sleep around with whatever woman they feel like, and he's serious about it. Ms. Reeves brought him to paternity court to prove that he is the biological father of 7-month-old baby legend. Ms. Reeves states that the paternity mess has really affected her life and relationships.
Explain to the court how this paternity doubt has affected your relationship.
Well, it's affected everything in my life. We've been on and off for about 3 years. Right now, every single time I turn around, it's always, oh, are you sure that he's my baby? Are you sure that he's my baby? Yes, I'm 100% sure.
That's true anyway. It's wild to imagine that question popping up at every corner. She added that Mr. Silva is a good guy, one statement that is super hard to believe, and that she'd prefer to continue their relationship without so many arguments. When Mr. Silva was asked why he has so many doubts, here is what Mufasa had to say.
I just don't trust her, Your Honor. I feel like she's tricking me into believing that I'm Legend's father. I grew up loving women, loving sex.
You grew up loving sex.
To me, I always felt like it was okay for men to go out, have sex, and, cheat, come home to their family, and women can't go out, have sex, and, come home, and especially with a baby, trying to say that I'm his father.
Oh, what an utterly ridiculous and immature thing to say. Mrs. Reeves told the court that he basically says this because he wanted to cheat on her. So basically, his distrust stems from a want to project his own unfaithfulness onto her. What a guy. That's not all. He surprised the court with something even more ridiculous.
Not been faithful. You basically said in so many words that you believe it's okay for men to go outside of the relationship to cheat, but not okay for women to do the same.
Yes, Your Honor.
You aren't the only man that feels like that.
Well, Your Honor, I feel
Every man feels like that.
God created men to conquer, to overrule, and women cannot empower. Women cannot empower men.
What are we on, Game of Thrones?
Well, okay, Dito Thraki Warrior. He went on to add that he was uncomfortable with the way Ms. Reeves changed her phone password after he confronted her without proof for talking to her ex. All of this while Ms. Reeves' phone is blowing up with texts from various women about our boyfriend. Oh, the nerve from this man. After much ado, the verdict is out and results are ready.
Mr. Silva, you are the father. You are the father.
That's all I needed to know, Your Honor. Now, I'm sorry, and I did have my doubt with Legend, but I know that he's my son, and I would truly, fully love him. And I want us to move on in our relationship, because I love you.
I love you too.
That was beautiful. And she needed to hear that, and I hope you receive it, but also receive this.